You know how people say rock bottom has a basement? I didn't believe that. Until I met Mr. Whitaker. My name's Ben. I was 32 when all this happened. New baby, no job, backs against the wall. I just lost everything I thought was stable. A company I'd worked at since my mid-20s suddenly collapsed after the CEO ran off with a 3 months payroll and half the employee pension fund. I remember staring at my daughter's unopened crib box, thinking, Jesus, how the hell do I buy formula this week? My wife tried to stay calm for us both. She was 7 months pregnant then, and we just downsized into a worn-down, 2-bedroom outside of Fairview. I spent my nights wide awake, doing the math over and over in my head. Formula, diapers, rent, it never added up. Eventually, I started calling in favors, old friends, colleagues, anyone who might float me a few $100 to keep the lights on. It's humiliating, asking for help when you don't even have gas in your car to get to an interview. That's when I remembered Tom, an old co-worker from my previous job. We weren't best friends or anything, but he always treated me kindly, respected my work ethic, so I gave him a call. To my surprise, he picked up after 2 rings. Ben, damn, it's been a while. We made some small talk. I asked if he was still working out in the northern industrial parks. He said, yeah, still at the same company. Then I got to the point. Tom, look, I wouldn't be asking unless I was desperate. Any chance you could help me out with, I don't know, $50? I just need to get through this week. There was a pause. Ben, sounds like things are real bad for you right now. Tell you what, how about I send you 80? Help out with the baby and all. I couldn't believe it. Money hit my account in minutes. Then Tom followed up with something unexpected. Hey, let's meet up. You free tonight? I said sure. He told me to meet him at this fancy Japanese spot downtown, one I couldn't even afford to look at before. We met, ate well, talked for nearly 2 hours. At first, it felt like old times, jokes, memories. But then, his tone changed. You're a dad now, Ben. You got responsibilities. You gonna keep flailing around like this forever? You need a real plan, man. Something stable. I nodded and told him I was looking, but it was tough. That's when he leaned in. My boss, Clay Whitaker. He owns this logistics firm out west. Big place, big money. Doesn't hire strangers, only referrals. You interested? I didn't hesitate. Absolutely. Next morning, Tom texted me an address. 10 a.m. sharp. Wear a suit. I borrowed a tie from my neighbor and took a bus out to a shopping center where Tom picked me up. We drove 2 hours west. The farther we got from the city, the more isolated it felt. Eventually, we pulled up to this massive compound. Concrete buildings, loading docks, forklifts buzzing everywhere. This is it, Tom said. Welcome to Whitaker Industries. Inside, the offices were clean but sterile. Everything smelled faintly like plastic wrap and gasoline. We took the stairs to the second floor and stopped outside a heavy wooden door. Tom knocked twice and stepped in. A minute later, he popped his head out. Come on in. He'll see you now. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting him. Clay Whitaker. Mid-40s, bleach blonde hair, tailored gray suit. He looked more like a Vegas nightclub owner than a logistics CEO. Still, he smiled warmly and shook my hand like we were family. Ben, I heard a lot about you, man. Tom vouches for you. Says you're a hard worker, reliable. I like that. He gestured for me to sit. Tell me, Ben, you good with sales? I nodded. Sort of. I'd done some vendor outreach in my last job. Good, he said. Because sales runs this place. Sales is what feeds the beast. You help us sell, we help you eat. He grinned wide. Let's do 3 months trial. You prove yourself, and we'll talk full time. You start Monday. I was stunned, just like that. And hey, he added, we're a family here. Welcome aboard. That weekend, I packed my things, said goodbye to my wife and newborn daughter. I told them I'd visit every weekend, that I was going to build us something better, and I meant it. But I had no idea what I was really walking into. Monday morning, I showed up at 7:45 a.m. sharp, pressed shirt, secondhand tie, shoes that looked fine from a distance, and a heart pounding in my chest like a damn jackhammer. The place was already humming with activity. Forklifts roaring across the yard, boxes being moved, clipboards snapping shut. Inside, the air smelled like sweat and industrial glue. A man in a neon vest waved me toward the side entrance. You the new guy? Ben, right? I nodded. Yeah, that's me. He handed me a clipboard. Follow Marcus. He'll get you oriented. Marcus was in his mid-30s. Sharp eyes, smelled like coffee and motor oil. He gave me the quick rundown. This warehouse handled a massive inventory of mechanical components. Pumps, valves, engine belts, coolant tubes, hundreds of items, some small as a coin, some bigger than my torso. This place ain't about what you know, he said. It's about how fast you learn. You'll be assigned to a section by the end of the week. For now, observe. So I did. I watched. I took notes. I lifted crates, swept floors, asked questions. By the end of day 1, my back was wrecked and my brain was soup. But oddly enough, it felt good. Like I had purpose again. The days rolled on. By the second week, I was memorizing shelf codes and part numbers. By the third week, I was learning how to drive the damn forklifts. And during all of it, Mr. Whitaker kept popping in. Never with a clipboard, never with a schedule, just appearing. Ben, you look like a real company man now. Sometimes he'd throw me a quiz. What's in Bay A17? I'd scramble. Dual axle couplings? Good man, he'd beam. Keep it up. Other times, he'd ask something I didn't know. And frown. Tisk, you've been here how long? Don't waste my time, Ben. He never yelled, but something about the way he said my name, like he was disappointed in a son he didn't ask for. At the end of the trial period, I was called to his office. It looked more like a lounge than a workspace. Dark leather chairs, jazz playing softly, a liquor cart near the window. He motioned for me to sit. 3 months, no complaints. I like you, Ben. You're not flashy. You work hard. I smiled, unsure of what to say. You're going full time, starting today? You'll be moving upstairs. Sales floor. Real deals now. And he tossed something across the desk. The car key. K7, leased in your name. Company handles insurance. Salesmen need wheels, right? I stammered. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say thank you. Then get out there and close something. The next few weeks were a blur. Sales training was aggressive. I was given pamphlets, cold call lists, and a clipboard filled with mysterious inventory codes. I asked what we were actually selling. Industrial wellness devices, said Marcus. We specialize in rare germanium products, health bands, bracelets, infrared mats. They don't really do anything, but the markups are huge. I blinked. Wait, are we selling scam products? He laughed. Not scams, lifestyle supplements. If people think they feel better, they will. I didn't like it, but I needed money. And money, it came fast. Commission-based pay meant one lucky week could feed my family for a month. And my first good sale? 5 bracelets to a chiropractor's clinic in Pennsylvania. $300 profit. Mr. Whitaker found out the next morning. "That's what I'm talking about," he boomed, slapping my back hard. "You've got the spark now, Ben. See? Told you." He pulled me aside into a side office. "You're not just selling junk, Ben. You're selling belief, hope. People want to feel better. We give them that." His tone was almost religious. That night, he came by my apartment with gifts. Diapers, formula, baby toys still in plastic wrap. My wife was shocked. "Who does that?" she whispered after he left. "Your boss seems intense." I nodded, but deep down, I was just grateful. Grateful someone finally believed in me. But that's the thing about deals with the devil. They always start sweet. Right before the floor falls out, I started losing sleep. Not because of the baby, not even from the hours. It was the pressure, the fear of failure. Every Monday morning, Mr. Whitaker would hold his weekly gathering. That's what he called it. It was never just a meeting. It was a performance. He'd pace the floor of the second-floor lounge like some corporate preacher, gesturing with spreadsheets, shouting names, hurling insults like darts. "Henry! You call that a sales report? My cat closes better numbers scratching at the door." "Maria, don't you dare smile. You're 47 and broke. Nothing funny about that." People laughed, uncomfortably, or didn't laugh, and got screamed at. When he got to me, he never yelled. He whispered. He'd walk up slowly, breathing through his nose like a wolf sizing up a lamb. "Ben, still no deals this week? After everything I've given you?" He'd rest his hand on my shoulder, squeeze it tight. "You remember the house, right? You remember the lease on that pretty little K7. Then he'd turn to the room and smile. "Ben here's got a family, a little baby girl. You all want to see what happens when Daddy fails?" Laughter, not from joy, from fear. After one of those meetings, I found a folder on my desk. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Sales quota adjustment, effective immediately. Under my name, the monthly quota had tripled. I brought it to Marcus. "They do this sometimes," he muttered. "Means you're being tested or targeted." That weekend, I went everywhere. Local clinics, elderly centers, trade expos. I drove over 900 miles and sold exactly 2 bands. That wasn't enough. On Monday, I showed up anyway, hoping maybe, just maybe, he'd go easy this time. He didn't. Mr. Whitaker slammed a water bottle across the room. "You're embarrassing me, Ben. You think I gave you all this to babysit failure?" He pulled out my employment file. "This," he waved it. "This is your debt to me. House, car, medical bonuses, child allowance. You know what happens when you default on internal contracts?" He dropped the file on the floor, stepped on it. "We collect, one way or another." Later that day, I was summoned to his private office. He didn't sit, just stood at the window, watching the trucks outside. "You ever hear of an intimacy contract, Ben?" I blinked. "Sir, what?" He turned slowly. "Nothing illegal, nothing forced, We're family here. I just believe that loyalty, real loyalty, should be earned in every sense. The air turned cold. I didn't say a word. Relax, he smiled. I'm not asking you. Yet, that night, I went home and held my daughter until dawn. She smelled like lotion and powder and something impossibly pure. She didn't deserve this, none of this. The next morning, I submitted my resignation. Typed, signed, folded neatly. I walked into his office and handed it over. Mr. Whitaker didn't even read it. He just nodded. All right, Ben, if that's what you want. I turned to leave. One last thing, he said. He pulled out a folder from his desk. It was thick, stamped, official looking. This is your debt summary, early termination penalty, property buyback adjustment. You now owe this company. He slid the paper across the desk. $1.7 million. I choked. That's insane. Read the fine print. You signed all of it. And he was right. Every little benefit I'd been given, the apartment, the car, even the diapers, had been framed as employee advanced compensation. All of it repayable, immediately, with interest. You leave, he smiled, and we come for everything. That cute baby grows up in a motel. Your wife works 2 jobs while you drown in lawsuits. I stared at the page. Then he dropped the final bomb. Or you stay and we forget the whole thing. You earn your way out, one sale at a time. I took the paper, walked out, and threw up in the parking lot. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring at my daughter's empty bottle. It still had the faint smell of warm formula, that cheap brand we switched to because I stopped getting the Whitaker bonus. Across the room, my wife was asleep on the couch. Not because we had a fight, because we sold our bed. I knew I couldn't win this, not by playing his game. But maybe I could burn the board. The next day, I showed up at the office like nothing happened, smiled, nodded, clocked in. Inside, I recorded everything. Audio on my phone, photos of the contracts, notes on every violent outburst, every bruised colleague, every twisted sales incentive. I didn't tell a soul, not even Marcus. 2 weeks passed. Mr. Whitaker started to relax again. He even invited me back into his inner circle. The saunas, the after-hours poker games, the private loyalty sessions. I declined politely, blamed a sick baby. He smiled and said he understood. I think that was the first time he ever truly believed I belonged. That I broke. Then came the inspection. I'd submitted an anonymous tip to a labor rights watchdog. A real one, not the friendly HR rep on the 3rd floor. They arrived unannounced. Clipboards, IDs, questions. You should have seen his face. Mr. Whitaker stood frozen in the lobby like someone had just unplugged his soul. They went through everything: payroll, hiring practices, contract terms, and eventually, my folder, with his signature on every page. He didn't scream. He didn't threaten. He just looked at me and smiled. You think this is over? They shut down the company within 3 weeks. Turns out it wasn't just me. Half the staff had signed the same advance compensation contracts. Dozens were under threat of eviction, seizure, lawsuits. A few were in too deep to even leave. One man, Marcus. He tried to end his life. He survived. Barely. Mr. Whitaker vanished for a while. No charges were filed. The lawyers couldn't prove coercion, and every single employee had signed. But the lawsuits stacked up, and the company, his empire, crumbled under its own rot. As for me, I declared bankruptcy, filed an official labor complaint. We moved into a friend's guest room for 6 months. My wife never looked at me the same again. I don't blame her. She saw what I let us become. Years have passed. I work at a mechanic shop now. Honest work, honest pay. No suits, no inner circles. Just grease, oil, and straight talk. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see him. Not in nightmares, but in my mirror. That same look, that same smile. The one that says, I gave you everything, and you still left. You could have had it all, but I remind myself I already do. She's 6 now. She calls me Daddy. She likes drawing castles and making pancakes and wearing superhero capes around the house. And she doesn't know who Mr. Whitaker is. Thank God for that.